I will get right into it since we want to keep these in our great half-hour time block. Michael Smith, I thank you for being with us today. And in case we have anybody on here from Living that might not know you, could you give us a quick intro of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Michael Smith. I am the CEO, co-owner of the real estate team here at Keller Williams Elevate. My lovely wife is my business partner. Last year, our team did, I think, 163 transactions with about 6, 7 agents for a little over 40 million. This year, we are on track to do right about the same number. We might be at, I think like last night I checked, we're about 2 million behind, but pipeline looks good. So hopefully can make that up. And then on the side, my wife and I own an investing business that we do a bunch of hard money lending, flips, and investments through.
Amazing. All right. So today we're going to be talking about pricing your listings, how to market it properly, etc. So we'll just get right into it, Mike. What would you say the 3 most important factors are when you are considering determining your pricing for a listing?
So I think definitely like obviously condition. I think that's like the easiest one everyone kind of knows. So I'm not going to hit that too hard. Next, I look at competition really hard. So I think a lot of people might focus more on comps or comparable sales. Mine's always been competition. I actually like to pull that up in my listing appointment, and I will show them like, say it's a $350,000 house in Strongsville. Hey, between 3 to 400, this is our active competition in all of the school district or city, because it lets me know where we're actually going to fall. And another nice tip is compare what the actual comparable sales are with the active listings that might be sitting, because it'll help you know like, hey, why is this sitting? Did they price it 20, 30K too high? And it should have been like, 349, not 379. So that would probably be my second. My third is the seller's net proceeds. What do they want to walk away with? Because that's really your determining factor of where you should list it. Like that's like one of the number one things. You can't list or sell a home if they're not going to make enough money. And I'm a very big person that when I do net proceed sheets, I actually do them in front of the client so they can see everything. And we'll even run over examples of like, if we go this price to this price. And I'll tell you, it's my biggest way of keeping my full commission. Because if I can get you to your quote unquote number that you want, they don't even mention like, well, what are you charging me on this? Or what is this? I think a lot of agents are like, oh yeah, like this is the price I would list it at, and don't take the time to go over what that looks like for the seller. And so the seller in their head automatically goes, well, what are you going to charge me, 6% or 5% or 4.5%? So it's a very easy way to have 6%.
That's huge. I hope everybody who is listening is writing that down. Let me ask you this, and sorry I didn't send this over to you, but that
Okay.
struck another question is, what type of pre-qualifying questions are you asking? Like, have you asked them before the listing appointment what they hope to get out of it or walk away with?
Not really, because I like to build that rapport on the phone or in person. I think when you get too personal sometimes, if I know them, I'll ask them to send me over their like mortgage payoff. Literally pre-qualifying on the phone though, I ask them, why are they moving? What's the motivation? Any updates you've done in the last 5 years? And I'll tell them, hey, if you can have your mortgage payoff ready when we meet, or if you want to send it over ahead of time, it'll help me like show you guys a numbers breakdown. But I try not to get too in depth on that on the phone. A big thing that even at family or mega camp we heard was like face to face still always wins. You're never going to usually win over the phone. So my goal, same with an internet lead, I just want to get in front of them as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one other follow-up question with that is back to educating them on the competition. Do you have a rule of thumb, like I want this many comps, this many actives, and this many pendings? Like, are you taking a certain number of those to the listing appointment?
No, not really. Because I mean, again, like the market is so crazy right now, like you might not have any competition. There might not be any comps because they've all sold. Like I've had a couple in neighborhoods. I work with a lot of flippers. So like I'm always pulling comps for them. And there's just a lot of houses that like ones haven't sold in the last 6 months. So you really are going back to a year. You're really expanding to like the whole school district to really try to see kind of where anything may fall. I like to get at least 2 to 3 comps
Mhm.
or comparable sales, but again, like it's not always happening. Luckily, if you're in Parma, you can find 100, but it's sometimes in different school districts, it's not there.
For sure. Okay, so what are you telling the let's price higher to give room to come down seller?
So I have a script, and I'll use you for my example. I relate everything when I go to a listing appointment to an auction. So if you've ever been to an auction, what do you do when you go to an auction? You have an item that you like, you have a predetermined set price in your head of what you're willing to pay for it. That's how
Mhm.
everyone is, if you've ever been to one. But once you go to the auction, you become emotionally invested. You see that item. You imagined owning whatever that item may be. It might be in your, again, it might be a family heirloom, it might be whatever, but then you really imagine like, I can't live without it. I do the same thing with my pricing. I want the auction style where I get 30 to 40 showings, not 5 showings, because then I get 30 to 40 people who have imagined their family in this home. They're all raising their hand. They want to buy this house. And we all know that once I send out that highest and best, someone's going to step in with a pain point of we've lost 10 offers already. We've done this, we've done that. And they're going to be willing to do that appraisal gap, that 30,000 over this or that. A prime example of literally, I just put up a listing, and if anyone showed my Meadow South condo in Strongsville, I'm going to literally give you like what's going on with it. I have 2 offers. One came in, we're listed at 219. One came in at 235 with an escalation up to 265. But they wanted an answer right away. And I'm like, well, that's not how this is going to work. He's like, well, my people have been looking in this neighborhood for 2 years. You priced this very aggressive. They love this house. What's it going to take? I was like, well, you tell me. They literally came back and waived their whole escalation. They offered just 265 because they envisioned their family in this house. So that's what I want to create is I love creating that traction, getting people through the door. It also allows you more options for your sellers.
Mhm.
Maybe they don't care about money. Maybe it's terms, maybe it's quick close, or they need extended possession. If I only get 3 or 4 showings through the door and one offer, I don't hold any cards. But if I get 20, 30 people through and I got 5, 6, 7 offers, I hold all the cards.
Yes, that's awesome. That is a great, great analogy, Michael. So kind of piggybacking onto that, are you, when you're meeting with a seller and, they want to overprice or whatever it is, whatever they want to list at, are you typically giving them a range or do you like to give an exact list price? This is our number.
I kind of like to just hone in with them on an exact number there. Like I said, I really try to use the net proceeds to really take me to like a list price. Like I'll kind of use net proceeds with the, comparable sales competition and kind of fall in the middle.
Mhm.
I always ask them first or try to get them to tell me their number. Everyone has most of the time a seller won't even really have a net proceeds that they want to walk away with. They have a list price, but they don't even know what that actually means to cash in their pocket. So that's where I try to flip the script and flip it from like, well, let's not even worry about list price. What do we actually need to make on this house? And let's let that take us, because then like list price is much easier to talk about because you have the facts of why you're going to list where you are. Because they're like sellers don't know. They don't know they wanted 60K out of a house, or they wanted this dollar amount, or what the money's even going towards. So that's where I try to focus my listing appointment on. Um, when I go into the house, I have a range in mind. So like before I meet with the seller, when I pull some of my, comps and competition, I always do like a Google view of the house and hope that's like one of the most up-to-date photos. So then I can see like, do they landscape the yard? Do I have any ideas going into it? But I walk in with a range and I try to walk out with like a pretty close to, we should go, within 10K, probably we should be at this list price.
Okay, perfect. And what happens if the price they want is still maybe a little too high? Are you setting the stage for a price adjustment at the listing appointment, or is that a conversation you just have later on?
It depends on the person. I mean, I'm again, I treat all my appointments of I just bring options. I'm an options person. So like you, by using me, you get access to my network, and my network creates options for you. You want to do work? Cool. You don't want to do work? That's awesome. I then take that and say, hey, I think we're going a little high, but it's your house. I'm gonna do what you want. I mean, how am I to tell them, hey, your house isn't worth that? Again, I just listed a condo of 219. I would offer 260.
Yeah.
I would never offer that for it, but it's just I can't drive that number. And I think actually Jose said this a long time ago on one of his. As agents, how many times have you been wrong about list price?
Mhm.
And I never forget that, because he's very right. Like I think I overprice stuff all the time, and then I'm shocked because someone's emotions drove it up. Now, when the market shifts, that might change. But I'm always open to what they have. Now, if it is substantial, I do set the table at that point of, okay, well, if we list this, this is what I'm getting on all my other showings right now, or all my other listings. So if you don't have a lot of listings, talk to other people, get ideas from other people of what they're seeing on their listings. And then that way, when you go to these listing appointments, you can use that to your advantage. Like, again, the condo I just listed, I think we have 25 showings. I can take that to someone and say, hey, a condo that was priced appropriately in 3 days had 25 showings, this many offers. If in 2 weeks we list at your price and we have 3 showings and 0 offers, you tell me what's wrong. And that's a very easy conversation to have with someone. They might not listen. Again, it's still at the end of the day, you can't force anyone, but having the facts and knowledge to back stuff like that up will greatly increase your chances of getting that price reduction. And yes, setting that stone at the appointment of where are we motivated, how fast do we want to move this, and what can we do when the time comes.
That's perfectly said. So you had mentioned your condo, and the one buyer's agent even said you're priced very aggressively. They want it. What are your thoughts on underpricing a home with the intention of gaining multiple offers?
Just like I said, I like to relate to that auction thing, man. I want as many people through the door as possible. I want people raising their hand, getting emotionally invested, because again, when emotions are involved on the buy side, that's when you get the offers. That's when you get the appraisal waivers. People might like to hear this. That's when you get the inspection waivers. Or, hey, my client needs a 30-day close, but a 60-day rent back. That's the way I can create that kind of stuff and make sure that, again, I can control the transaction. So all day, I'm always going to price as aggressive as possible. Again, it's going to sell for what it's worth.
Mhm.
Like even the condo, like it is going to sell for what it's worth. It's just a matter of and I tell them, I want to bring you options. That way you guys can pick what fits what you need the most.
Yes. And to bring you options, we need to price it more aggressively.
Correct. It's the same thing. Again, the same conversation of, would you rather have 30 showings and 6, 7 offers to choose from? And also those offers are going to compete more aggressive. Or would you have 3 people through the door and 1 offer if we're lucky? And no one's going to say that. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to say the other one. So
Absolutely. That's so great. This is kind of shifting gears back to pricing before you go into a listing appointment. I hear some agents at times, and even when I was in production, they'll be like, well, did you see what the real AVM number is? How much are you using that? And even along with that, the Zestimate, et cetera, how much consideration do you give that into pricing a home?
So when I was a younger agent, I did use it, but I used it as a factor. So I would do the mid to high portion of the AVM. I would do the comparable sales, like where I thought that would be. And then sometimes not very often, I'd look at his estimate, like very minimal, like if I can't find anything remotely. And then I would also try to do like a price per square foot. And then I would average those and kind of see where that would lead me to kind of be. I think as I've gotten older, I don't need the AVM quite as much. But I think with the market changing as fast as it is, it's more unreliable.
Mhm.
When I got licensed, it was 2018. I think 2019 is when I started to first see some multiple offers, that kind of stuff, or stuff like selling at least in a couple days for ask price. Um, I think you could use the AVM because then it was still steady and consistent. but I think we've adjusted so fast in the last 2 to 3 years that AVM number, I don't know how reliable it even is, and I'd be scared to use that. Again, 100%. If I'm doing like a quick, if I have a flipper who's like, hey, what's your opinion of this house? And I'm not like, I don't have time, I'll look at the AVM and tell them, hey, this is what it's kind of telling me online. I don't know how accurate it is. If, you know, if you need a precise answer, you're going to give me a couple hours or whatever. If
Mhm.
that even just gives you that kind of window of like, hey, should I even look at this or dive in? But again, AVM to me, we used to be a lot more reliable than it probably is now. And I think it's just because, you know, because I used to even use like the taxes, like that tax, your what, the full value or whatever. That was one of my numbers too. Because you would always just add like 20% to it, and usually that's pretty accurate. But again, the market has just up so fast, so much. I don't think it's a reliable number.
Mhm.
I just did a listing in Akron that while we were under contract, they just got their tax reappraisal. And I think
Oh,
their amount for the market of the home went from like 180 to 229.
mhm.
So like if I was using that 180 number, you know what I mean? And now that 229 number is way too high. Their house just appraised at 234. It's not even, you know what I mean? So I think nothing's caught up on that kind of stuff. That's where I think you have to be using comparable sales.
I agree. That's a great conversation when your seller questions the Zestimate as well. Like it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's just moving so quickly. It's really hard to take that into consideration.
Well,
And
with
I
the
think,
Zestimate, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
With the Zestimate, I always just tell them it's just a price per square foot algorithm. I was
Mhm.
like, you know, if you think your house is nicer than your neighbor's, well, you don't want to compare your house to your neighbor's price per square foot. Yours is different. You know, yours is a ranch, theirs is a colonial. You know, how does that look for you in reality? So I think if you know where the Zestimate comes from, it's a very easy conversation to have with people. And most people, not all, I had one seller who would die on his estimate. Um, and I didn't take the listing because it's still sitting on the market right now. Because he
Mhm.
listed 50,000 more than I was willing.
Yeah, that's great. When do you know to walk away and say, like, I'm not going to be the best listing agent for you?
There's so many situations. I think someone like him, like he, you know, I sold a house literally 4 houses down from him. I knew the neighborhood. I had the highest list. I had the highest price in the neighborhood. And we listed low at 449. We got 488 or something like that. Um, and he wanted 499, 489. And I was like, their house was way nicer. It had a better lot. It had a better back, like just so much. I'm like, it's not there. I was like, I'll compromise, meet you in the middle around like a 469. We had the price conversation of reduction. If, you know, 2, 3 weeks, they were moving out of state. And he called me and said, if I wasn't willing to list at this price, he didn't want to work with me. And I wasn't going to spend the $500 to come out of pocket for a stale listing.
Yep.
It's
That
just
takes
not, it's not worth
maturity
the
in your
phone
career.
calls. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
not worth the phone calls and the headaches. Go find another listing. I get it. If I was younger, I probably would have been very aggressive and said, hey, like kind of like let's lock him into a contract, see if I can beat him down.
Mhm.
But it wasn't worth it. There was a lot there, a lot of uh ego on their side too.
Yeah. Uh, Marketing your listings real quick. How important do you think it is? Like, in what ways are you guys marketing? How important is social media? Like, what has been your best return on investment as far as marketing your listings?
Um, I mean, 100% that condo I just did, we staged it.
Okay.
It was $1,300. They pushed back on it at the beginning, the sellers, because it's an estate, there's 4 kids inheriting it. So obviously like, you know, splitting the money 4 ways, it just comes down. But, you know, they now have 2 offers, 20 to 40,000 over their happy number. So
Mhm.
do you think the $1,300 was worth it? I staging for sure, 100%, especially on vacant homes. Like their house was all white, but it still was like decently clean. So we just needed to break it up, add some color, some greenery, some of the, you know, new modern stuff. Um, I would say other than that, I mean, we do professional photos. I mean, I only use like one, maybe 2 photographers. I won't go outside of my group. I relate my professional photographers to they only do real estate photography. Your other listing agent you're talking to is professional photographers, do weddings, they do senior photos, they do all this other stuff. My guy is so good. He is so busy. He has a team. He only does this kind of photography. They go to Vegas every year, just like we do, to get better, to learn about drones and technology and all this stuff. And I won't deviate.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You do any type of staging when the listings are occupied?
I have. I've had someone come in, even do just minor stage, just how do we move stuff around, add some towels, get rid of some stuff. Again, I'm a huge options person. So I give my clients a list of like, if you want me to give you my opinion of how to list this properly, we need to remove shrubberies in the front. Like overgrown bushes is like the easiest thing to get rid of on a house for no money. And it
Mhm.
makes it look so much better. It looks so much bigger, more open, inviting. Inside, same thing. Hey, we got to declutter. I don't care if you put it in the basement. I don't care if you put it in the garage, but we got to make this feel as big as possible with the space you have. So again, I'll give them that. If they need a cleaning service, I have a cleaning service we can recommend. If they need a storage unit, I can get them a storage unit or a pod or whatever. But again, it's all options. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But this is what I think is going to put your home in the best light. You get to pick from the options menu. If you want to remodel, I don't usually tell anyone like remodel a bathroom and get that crazy. If they ask, I will, but usually I try to work with what I have.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Michael, what you've already given us like so much. I'm taking notes myself here. You've given so many great points. What would you say would be the number one thing that sets you apart in a listing appointment?
I'm honest. I mean, I'll tell anybody anything. I'm very blunt, sometimes to my detriment. You can ask my team. I see Mike smiling right now. Um, I would say mostly though my network. Like if you need something, I have it, and I will put that up against anybody, and I can get it done fast. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, my HVAC guy's 4 weeks out." My guy was there same day, swapped the furnace. So I'll put any of my network in that up against yours, and if I don't have it, I can find it. And I think that's what people do because our team's goal is to be the realtor for life. And the way to be a realtor for life is I want my people that after they close the transaction to still reach out to me when they need something. And that's why I'm a very big person of telling people, Aaron and I own an investment business with the flips and the hard money lending because people remember that. And that's why they reach back out. And you'd be shocked at how many of buyers and sellers that we pick up because their agent opened the door and that was it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or unmute yourself. And while we give time for that, I will just ask you one last question, Michael. What advice would you give to somebody who's on the call, who's newer in the business and really trying to build their listings? What's the number one thing they could do?
And build your listings.
Like just to
Man.
start getting listings.
Yeah.
We've only worked with buyers. What do they do?
I think you just have to be confident in your listing appointment. I mean, I know that doesn't get you into like the door, but I don't go on a ton of listing appointments. I just don't lose.
Mhm.
I would say that's my thing is my ratio is just a lot higher. It's not, I'm not, not like Jose's team. Like I don't have a listing only person and I go on 4 to 6 appointments a week. I just go on one a week maybe, and I probably get it. So I think, but that's the confidence and knowing my stuff, knowing my network, knowing the neighborhoods, all that stuff. Don't be scared to just go walk open houses, set appointments on it. Actually, one tip, I forget where Aaron with an A on my team. Sorry, that's how we refer to Aaron with an A and Aaron with an E. On my team, she learned that like before a listing appointment, they'll go walk houses that matches comps that are active so they can report back to that listing appointment. Hey, I just walked your neighbor's house that's for sale, it's sitting. This is some of the reasons why I think it's sitting and I physically viewed it and now I can take it to you on how we can stand out. That's super easy as a brand new agent to do. And I've never done that. And I've never heard of an agent doing that. And if I was a seller, I'd be very impressed that you took time to go do something and you weren't getting technically paid for it.
Without a doubt, like knowledge is power. And you
Yes.
started that with having confidence. And the best way to have confidence is know your craft.
Correct. 100%. Yeah. Yep.
That's so great. Well, does anybody on the call have any questions for Michael? All right. Looks like we do not. Michael, thank you so very much for joining us today. You are like, this is a recording. I feel like we will be playing and playing because there was a lot of valuable information. And yeah, thank you everybody for being here.
No problem. Thank you for
All
having
right.
me.
Happy Friday.
Have a good day.
Bye.